What will happen? Wi-Fi.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're calling in from and watching us today. I'm Anissa Turan, and today we're doing something a little bit different, and we are going to talk mentorship with I don't know how to describe him, elusive, infamous, famous, whatever, many descriptors I can give Kieno, but just a genuine, awesome guy that you want to be in his company, dynamic, energetic. So I'm going to give a short bio, but before I do that, I just want to apologize for being slightly late. We have stormy weather in Cape Town, South Africa, and it is freezing. Good morning, Didzalafi. Good morning, those that are here on Instagram and watching from YouTube as well as LinkedIn. We will review your comments and do interact and engage with us. Please, this is an interactive session. So let's talk about who Kieno Kammies is. Kieno Kammies is for a bit. Commercial talk show host and music radio presenter for over 2 decades. He left that traditional media to follow his love for innovation. Today, he works with two of South Africa's top entrepreneurs and is associated with the Top Innovations Hub in Sweden, Epicenter Stockholm, and also a co-founder of Innovation City based in Cape Town, along with Stefan Eckbert, the top travel entrepreneur in Africa. So he's also head of culture for UCT Online High School after being approached by Robert Paddock, and who's a co-founder of Get Smarter. And then we're going to delve in because this is a very long bio, and I don't think it's going to do
Don't.
justice for the man himself to talk to us. So I'm going to delve in right away. Kieno, thank you for joining us.
What a
Thank you
pleasure.
for being here amidst this cold weather. I'm going to dive right in. And I want to get into the conversation around what were some of your early influences and inspirations around mentorship. Could you share some of that of your earlier experiences?
Of course I can. But thanks for inviting me, Anissa. We go back a very long time. I think to a time when you might have seen hair on my head, which is over 30 years. So it's great to be on this platform with you. Just a couple of things quickly.
Yes.
um, no longer with UCT Online High School. I used to head up culture there. So I'm
Okay.
working with Rob. I'm working with Rob to now try and get some deals done in relation to UCT Online High School. And the reason I did that is because I'm launching Innovate Africa, which is with Arena Media. So I needed space and time for that. So it's going to
Yes.
be a show focused on the most innovative individuals, founders, businesses that impact lives. So that's just the one little thing. And then, let's dive right into it. Mentorship started with me at a very young age, and it's called my mom and my dad, and my grandmother, quite frankly. I grew up in Elsie's River in Cape Town. And I always say to people, you must really embrace where you come from because it makes you who you are, right? And my
Mm-hmm.
mom and my dad used to say to me, your circumstances don't define who you are and where you're going. And my mom in particular always spoke about aptitude and attitude. And I couldn't really figure that out until much later in life, started connecting the dots. But my mom used to work in a factory in Kensington called Symington. And they used to make bikinis. It was my first introduction to bikinis, by the way, back then. And my dad used to be on a bike. He was a postman and used to deliver all the
Yes.
post. It was really cool. My granny was a domestic worker, and my mom obviously said to her, "Listen, get out of that. We look after you." And she took care of me for most of my life. And essentially, Anissa, the message that is still the bedrock of what I do today is aptitude and attitude. Show people that you've got the right attitude, you've got the aptitude to deliver, and everything else will flow from that. And I mean, I remember my leaving, not leaving matric. I matriculated at the age of 17, not because I was particularly clever. I think the months just fell in my favor. And I sat at home for 6 months watching Bold and the Beautiful, and I got sick and tired of Brooke. and found out that there was a political rally around the corner, as one would have at that time, and went to this political rally, and then, unbeknownst to me, started practicing what my parents called aptitude, attitude, putting your foot in the door. I met a cameraman there from Reuters, asked him a whole lot of questions about camera work. I wasn't quite sure what it was all about. Looked into the viewfinder, saw that it was black and white. And I said, but it's on color. On TV, it's color. Why is it black and white? And he said, why don't you come and look at what we do? And I spent months, 6 months actually, getting on a train, Elsie's River Station, going into town, corner of Long and Rubik Street. And I think it was the second floor, where I spent time with Reuters making coffee with the likes, and just for the likes of Alvin Andrews and Jimmy Matthews, some of my earlier mentors in the media space.
So humble beginnings for you, and I love the fact that you acknowledged mom and dad as being those early influences on your path, because we sometimes I could have guessed that, right? I could have guessed that. I want to just acknowledge those that are here on the Instagram. Dr. Maria, I think she's calling in from the UK. Ian from Grow SA, thank you for being here. Lebo has also joined. If you have the aptitude, the attitude, the rest will flow, he says, golden. So humble beginnings, chose not to be a victim of your circumstances and allowed it to shape the direction your life took on, right? But you've mentioned a few of these mentors along the way, but I really want to tap into what was the most impactful piece of advice you received from those early influences of those mentors?
Okay, so I obviously started with my parents, which is the common thread. Put your foot in the door, aptitude, attitude, spoke about that.
Yeah.
But sometimes people don't have to say stuff. Sometimes people just have to show you. Mentorship is not something which is necessarily spoken all the time. And I remember working at Reuters, and it's a man who I credit my media success with, Jimmy Matthews. Here's this dude from the flats, a producer at Reuters. Back then, it's like, wow, there are black people doing this type of stuff. This is really cool. And he's the one. I mean, he was hard ass, right? A fair man, but very hard ass. I mean, my current managing director at Innovation City won't tell you that I'm very punctual, and neither will Corinne from but anyway, the one thing that they taught me how to do is to work under pressure and meet deadlines, real big deadlines. And that's what we started doing. While I was making coffee, I used to check out these cameras. I used to see them roll black, because before we used to have machine-to-machine editing machines, not like this Mac that I'm sitting on at the moment, and my phone that I can edit on. I hope that's a glass of water. And then, just and I used to ask them questions all the time. And I said, can I roll black for you? And we used to get bars like a rainbow. We used to roll bars before shooting as well. And then they used to do that. And then they got me to do it when it was crunch time, because the thing back then, and I think it's still the same now, when there's a news story, you want to get there first. Because back then, there was no, let's do it on the internet, darling, and send, there you go, and you can go into my Google folder. None of that nonsense. You used to take your media, and once you filmed, you've got to take that tape, you've got to run to the SABC, and there was a little room at the SABC, which is a satellite room, and you used to feed this tape. And you needed to get it there before any of the competition, right? Because you were Reuters and you had to be first. So working under pressure was something that Alvin and Jimmy and a whole lot of people taught me to just work under pressure, but also watch those deadlines, manage those deadlines, hit those deadlines. So working under pressure is a very difficult thing. A lot of people wilt. When COVID happened, I flourished. I like chaos, and I credit it to that thing, because in the newsroom, it's chaos. especially when you were covering Mandela's release, which we did, especially when you were doing all these big stories and you had 40 other camera people. I remember covering later on in life, covering Prudence Solomon's marriage to Jerry Anzarello, and Michael Jackson was the best man. So we don't talk about Michael that much these days, but anyway, he was. And it was only the SABC that was allowed in there. And I promise you, I begged, borrowed, stealed, and lied to get us in there. And we got an international exclusive after that, filming it. I've got videos. I must actually show you the video. It's now APTN because it used to be WTN, and AP bought the Associated Press bought them, and they became APTN. Or ABC bought WTN back then, and they became APTN. So working under pressure was a really, really big one. And also being nice, you know, we work under pressure. Some people can be a little funny. You just mustn't take it personally, and just make sure that you keep your eye on the end goal. So those were some of the early lessons that I've learned, but also seeing someone who looked like me and looks like me doing a job really made me think, wow, you know, if they could do it, I could do it too. And because I mean, my very earliest exposure to media was being a paper dude. I used to be in the back of a van, and this was when Independent was still run by sane people and not Iqbal Survey. You know, we used to take the Cape Times, the Argus, and we used to like take them to the various shops, etc. And then I used to see this press running, and I was like, wow, this media thing's really interesting. So this was a far cry from sort of the newspaper thing. This was just real hard. News was being made, history was being made, and you could not slip up. And I remember my very first, I think I still have the invoice that I got from Reuters was $100. The very first job I did for them was a runner, because the cameraman would be done with the tape. You then had to be the internet on legs, and you had to hop into your car, and we used to break all sorts of speed limits back then, make your way to the SABC and get the footage to London or wherever it needed to be before anybody else.
So what I'm hearing you say is that you don't always need to hear feedback or advice specifically, but you got to watch and observe and learn and be curious and be willing to take the risk. That's ultimately what I'm summing up from that part of your response. And just to be curious and learn to be okay with, as my coach supervisor says, fail is for all I learn. And in those moments, you learn significant lessons along the way, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I want to say to you that Corinne's comment earlier was, just let's go to what her comment was.
Corinne, she's being spicy with me again.
No, she's just grateful that you made the time.
She is such an amazing CEO at the Ignition Academy. She really is. What did she say? Go back to it. What did she say?
Just grateful that you made the time for us today, Kieno.
Absolute pleasure for you. I killer the bull, Corinne. Thank you. What a pleasure.
Yeah, we've got quite a significant audience here across, I think, all of our networks and all of our programs. So thank you for those that have all joined us across the Level Up program, De Beers, Art Mining. I can see a number of you are here. Thank you for making the time for us, and those that are here on Instagram. We will acknowledge your comments as we go along. But I want to delve into sort of what are some of those mentorship moments. Can you describe a pivotal moment in your career where mentorship played a crucial role?
Okay, I mean, there are a couple. Well, I think,
sure.
Listen,
enlighten us.
When you say where mentorship plays a pivotal role all the time, right? It keeps building you.
Sure.
But then on that mentorship journey, you sort of hit a tipping point, and things really start going into your favor, right? When it comes to the media side of things, I think running tapes when Mandela was released, and then when him and Winnie were, anyway, I forget, I think it was Victor Verster, and they were walking out. So I'd shot Jimmy, and I was the runner, and I promise you, I think I broke all sorts of speed limits, but that was my first gig. I got $100 for that, $100 for running the tape. And that was just like so cool, you know? And they said, if you get a fine, we'll pay for it.
So listen, so I take it you had some hair back then and you were much younger then, right?
I thought I still looked
Was
young.
it fun? Was it fun? You were running,
It was a lot of
and
fun. My hair, I lost it about 20. My friend Jeremy shaved all of it off because I was starting to look like your uncle in the furniture business. And he said, just get rid of all of it. And I've kept it since I think I was 19 when I got rid of it. One of my old friends. But it was really exciting. But you know, that first job is very important. So it's one thing to show attitude and you're all nice, bright-eyed, maybe not bushy-tailed, but you're there. But when they call on you to do something, you have to do it. And you have to be impeccable. You have to execute. And I did that. I mean, getting in a car, driving a tape, feeding it, getting it out to where it needs to be was great. So for me, that was what my tipping point. And there have been a series of those. Someone didn't rock up to do sound when the USS Halliburton arrived and docked in Cape Town, and I had to do sound. I remember also doing sound, the exteriors for White Squall with Jeff Bridges. And I still have a photograph of me being lifted by a helicopter because Kippy over here kept the transmitter and put the receiver on the big ship that we were filming. So we literally had to. So anyway, there was that. And there were these little moments that start building your career, right? From there, from Reuters, and doing work with a couple of other people like WTN, etc. I mean, WTN was my next one when I started doing a bit of camera work. I filmed Michael Jackson. I told you at the wedding, I asked him. I was the only one to do a Q&A with Michael Jackson at the end. Very short one. After they pushed me and I almost fell, Michael got into the car. He opened the door. They apologized. They said he'll talk to you. And I asked him 2 stupid questions, which lasted all of 5 seconds. And even though we were late at sending that particular clip, we beat everybody with the content because nobody else in the world did. And when I ended up doing,
So that shaped your career in many ways, I suppose, even with the obstacles.
Oh, yeah. Obstacles, when you're young, you know what, and you've got something that you're really interested in and you singularly focused on that, you don't mind going home to wherever. I love Elsie's River. I want to do more for Elsie's River. I want to give other kids opportunities in Elsie's River because I go back there and I'll make the statement right now. They're worse off now than they were during apartheid. Now, I don't say that lightly, but they are. I mean, where are their jobs? Where are the opportunities? Look at youth unemployment. So I very fondly chat to other people who come from Elsie's River as well, like the guys who run Brimstone Investments. And Nazar Pangaka had a meeting with him the other day. He said, listen, what can we do for kids in the neighborhood? But I mean, just getting back to the mentorship side of things, Steve Jobs had an address where he talks about, connecting the dots. And those dots do connect as you move on. I mean, I went from, the WTN side of things. I ended up working for the SABC. I was mentored by Charles Poe. I did camera work for him. For some of the older members of this team might remember Charles Poe at the Paul Show and Charles Poe at the Penguin. And I remember my first shoot with him, I had blue footage, which means I didn't do a color balance. And he came back and he broke up the tape and he says, we won't tell anybody else about it. Let's go back out to Saldanha Bay and shoot it. So we did. So people like him, he mentored me. Brian Uranovsky, one of the best cameramen around, had my back because there were some really funny people at the SABC. And I was one of the few black cameramen doing whatever we were doing. And Brian had my back big time. He was like a big brother to me. Rene Skibby I worked with. I remember us coming back from shoots and not wanting to do another show or another assignment. Then we'd buy fish and chips and we'd drive along just Camps Bay, and we'd sit and eat our fish and chips and get to the office late so we can just edit and get it done. I remember the Stachy killing in Woodstock. I was the editor for that for SABC. There's some really interesting people who helped shape my life. And then one day, while I was being a cameraman and being as inquisitive and wanting to put this foot in every door, I then went, I think it was the second floor. I went down to Good Hope FM. And I saw this dude, man. It's the whitest dude I ever saw. His name was Graham White. Funny enough with that surname. And you would remember Graham White because
Yes, I do.
you were at the club, Anissa, because we'll tell people about this now. Graham White was there doing gigs along with me and a couple of other people. I saw Graham and I said to him, "Can I come and see what you're doing?" And he said, "Yeah." And he loved a good old smoke. And he said, "Listen, I'll teach you how to mix the desk." And I said, "Yeah, cool. I could do that for you." And then he used to go out for a smoke while I mixed all his music, right? So I was very helpful. And then one day he said to me, "Hey, there's a gap available on the weekends. You want to give it a try?" And I'm like, nah, me on radio is never going to work. No. And then anyway, we did. I just messed around and we edited on 1/4 inch, right? We have to cut, splice, and use tape. That's how we used to edit. None of these waveform knots and stuff. And then he said to me, "I'm going to hand this in." And then they gave me my first show. It was probably the worst show I ever did in my life. It was called Kid Kieno's Saturday Sensation. That one. And I just
there was
moved
a
on.
comment earlier on about that by someone that's watching here.
Anyway, I talked about it, but there's so much to say, and there were just so many dots that sort of just revealed themselves in front of me, and I kind of took advantage of it. And I want
to read Angela de Villiers' comment here because I think it relates to some of this that you're just talking about now. He says, "I listen to Kieno a lot on the radio when driving long distances, and his level of knowledge are truly invaluable. I think we can truly take a lot from his experience and expertise. Thank you for making time to give us entrepreneurs your insights of your journey. It's inspiring to hear such stories closer to home." Many have said that they can resonate with that. So Kieno, I know that these. I mean, I could listen to you forever. We only have an hour, and I really want to get to sort of the meat of why we're here. You know, we've got our own mentorship program. Connect to Grow. The idea here is to really inspire others to take on this journey of either becoming a mentor or not being afraid to be mentored, because the role of mentorship is vast for all of us, and it's always a two-way exchange. It's a shared value exchange. What would you say then has this been for you across the different stages of your career? Because you've mentioned a few different individuals that have been catalysts for you to be where you are today. But what would you say is that one magic source around those different stages of your career where you've evolved through mentorship?
I really think it's putting your foot in the door, backing yourself and going for it and taking the risk. Because the worst anybody can say is no. And then you're still going to be where you were before you asked. If they say yes, you catapulted into something else. And I think, but even before you get there, it's also about understanding yourself, right? Or at least getting to know yourself, because you don't really always know yourself. But the more you venture into different things, the more you open up that door and allow things to come in, the more you start defining exactly who you are and what makes you tick. So, I'd say that would be the magic sauce. You have to take a step forward. You might be sitting in a corporate at the moment, and this happened to me when I was on radio. At the age of, what am I now? I'm 50 now. That doesn't look it, but no. But I'm 50 now, right? And I remember I was in my late 40s, and I had COVID, and that was such a big moment for me. I really thought I was going to die. I've got 2 kids, I've got children, and and you've got a family, and you're thinking, gosh, what happens if I go now? And I said to my wife back then, you know what, I want to try other things. I want to try new things, and made the move. The move to entrepreneurship, the move to innovation, ecosystem building, all of those things, right? I could have hopped from one radio gig to another, and I chose not to, because I saw some of my radio mentors at the age of 60 odd, 70, and bless them. They're amazing people still looking for jobs and year-to-year contracts. And I said, well, you know what? I'd rather, if I'm going to do year-to-year contracts, it'll be on my terms, not with a one-sided contract, which is what radio generally gives you. I mean, if you knew what radio people, how they treated in South Africa. I think Baidu Adams wrote a very nice book about that, actually. And I agree with him 100%. Radio can be a cutthroat business, right? So to last 30 years, I don't know. I don't think I peed off enough people to want to fire me enough. But for me, it was just taking that leap, thanks to Rob. I mean, Rob Paddock is still a great mentor. He's a good friend of mine. You know, Stefan Egberg, my business partner at Innovation City. I mean, we've built a business that now has our corporates, for example. The market capitalization of our corporates are over 400 billion rand. The amount of funding in the space is just over 4 billion rand. And then we've got amazing high growth startups, scale ups, and then bringing in the entrepreneurs to learn. And that was built over a period of, you know, 2.5, almost 3 years now, 2 years, 9 months. Right. And it would never be possible if I didn't have someone like Stefan also mentoring and, you know, just take a chance. Sure. No business plan, no business model. So my message is always, and magic sauce is take that step, do it. If you don't do it, you're never going to know what was on the other side. If someone closes the door, you're still where you were before. So you're no worse off. And that is kind of the message that I give.
Yeah, I love the fact that you're highlighting that it's not only, you know, an exchange of skill sets, or, you know, it's really sharing battle scars, it's sharing those stories, it's coming back to self, it's knowing self, it's often more than, it's healing self, knowing self in order to lead self, right? So it's great to hear that you already answered the next question that I had is what, so you probably had different mentors for different aspects of your personal and your professional growth, because what most entrepreneurs forget and human beings forget is that we are multiple roles, but we still need to excel across all of them, right? And we can't do it alone.
Yeah. But I mean, if I just think, I know you said I answered it, but I mean, if I just think about what you said earlier, not just skills. Skills, you can learn skills.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to say this? I'm only into trouble when I say this, right? But I'm going to say it nonetheless. No kids are listening.
Be truthful.
I'm going to be very truthful. You can't unarseholize someone, right? We have an arsehole policy at Innovation City, and we hold ourselves to account for that, right? And it's not just wanting to be, oh, you don't have an arsehole policy. The thing is, culture is everything. And there are different ways of getting culture to flourish. You can get people like we used to have that used to come in with at the radio station. They used to draw cartoons and they used to have square roots. And if we did this, it would have that value. I mean, that's the biggest load of cods. Okay. But if you're just a lekker person, and don't be a DICK at the end of the day, right? Just be lekker. No one says don't disagree with someone. But there's a way of doing it.
Yes.
Right? So that's important. And I think you only get to a point where you're able to do that once you go on this journey of self, as you put it. So I think the journey of self is more important than any of the skills that people teach you. Because you know what some accelerators are like? They teach you they had some management, marketing, your P&Ls, you're this and you're that. And that's all fine. But what do entrepreneurs want? They want access to market at the end of the day out of all of this, and they want to be better leaders, which is why I'm happy I'm on the board of TIBA. TIBA is all about leadership as well, and they spend a lot of time on looking at self, and that to me is highly important.
Absolutely, absolutely, I concur on that, because I have the pleasure of coaching many of these entrepreneurs, and they always come into it with the idea of, well, I'm here to be coached for business skills, and I quickly derail that for them, because you know, we need to get to that holistic, fully integrated person that does not sabotage themselves, that does not feel like an imposter most of the time on their journey, So our roles as mentors and coaches is to almost, I like what you said earlier on, hold them accountable to come back to the truth of who they are within themselves, because they don't know how to say no. They are not always values aligned in their choices. So, I mean, what would you say is the most important, critical piece of advice that you would give entrepreneurs and leaders when they are choosing a mentor or partnership in mentorship?
Listen, it doesn't matter who your mentor is. If you're not strong in yourself, right, you're going to start taking things personally, because not all mentors are made even, and no one's expecting every mentor to like hold you and pat you on the back and go, "Oh, you're such a beautiful person." You're going to have mentors that are going to be pretty hard. As long as you pair yourself with someone who actually cares about you, and as human beings, we can pick this up intuitively, right? People will be hard, but they'll be fair. But they're pushing you for a reason. You have to work on your inner strength before you work with any other mentor, unless there's a mentor like you who can help people work on their inner strength, help build the self. But I'm talking about the sort of hard business skills mentorship there. So the first thing I would do is chat to an Anissa, for example. So whether you're a C-level person or someone moving into C-level and you're looking for mentorship, or you're starting your own business, the journey of self is so important. And chatting to the likes of Anissa, for example, helps you not only build the confidence, but that inner strength to actually make decisions, to back yourself, to fight imposter syndrome as well. Imposter syndrome is a big thing, right? I mean, when I was at Innovation City, I had imposter syndrome for the first year. I was like, on the radio, holding this thing. I mean,
Talk to us about that.
Hey,
Talk to us about more about that.
A guy who built a R1 billion business, right? And now you're co-founding a business with him. But you start understanding your value, right? There's certain things he can't do that I can do. And there's certain things I can't do that he's very good at. And you start realizing that and we are, I mean, I won't even talk about our political views. We're very different, right? Very different. But we're good friends. And I respect him. And he respects me. And we work together with an amazing team run by Michelle Klee, who is our managing director. And I just think that I'll just go back to what I said about self. If I was some timid little fairy who worried about everything anybody ever said about me, or someone who disagreed with me, on something that I feel is fundamental in my life, and I want to run away and crawl under a blanket, I shouldn't be doing business.
Yeah.
So, toughen up. Don't be an a-hole. Be nice, right? And take all those bits of advice that come to you, whether they're hard knock bits of advice from people, or whether they, people trying to nurture who you are as a person. They're not trying to change you fundamentally. They're just trying to, like you do. I keep saying Anissa because I've got a lot of respect and time for the work that Anissa actually does. I've had many conversations with Anissa, and I've got to tell you, I learn a lot every time I chat to Anissa. And I'm not just saying it's not paying me. You're not paying for this. Someone says, I found that pairing with multiple mentors. Sorry, that's my ADHD. By the way, I've got ADHD.
Yes.
I agree with you, Alan. And I mean, it's a journey I've been through, multiple mentors. And each mentor is meant to be there to help you with that particular seminal time in your life. And you just need to take what they say, learn. You're going to make mistakes, man. You are going to make mistakes. And we had a thing at Innovation City with Regan and Rian from Open Letter, something that obviously Tsiba put together, and they were talking about how to fail well. And if you should check it out online. There's a whole write-up on it. It's important to fail well, and you're going to have mentors that will help you deal with that. A mentor person is one of our partners, if you like, or Vuyo Mpako, who's the managing director of Next 176, which is Old Mutual Skunk Works, their venture building arm, right, and fund. I remember my first meeting with Vio, and I've known him for years. I've interviewed him. And I had my first business meeting with Vio was in Sandton. And I sat down with Vio and I immediately wanted to talk business. And he put his hand on my hand and he says, wait, hold it. Hold it. He says, how's your family? How's your family doing? And that made me, I want to cry when I think about it. So, you get little things like this. Okay, let me not show you the key. I'll show you this little thing. So when you have a birthday and your son brings you a little Superman.
Oh, man.
So that's a mark hearing.
That's
yeah.
That's precious.
And it's balance makes that happen.
Yeah.
Because some people think work needs to be everything. But the other thing my parents taught me is to work smart. Work hard when you need to, but also work smart. You don't have to say yes to everything. You don't have to be brilliant at everything. As long as you putting one foot in front of the other and you make sure that you've got the balance to stay on your road. And for me, balance includes family. It includes taking time for yourself. So anyway, I don't even know if I'm sticking to your track here, but
No, definitely. I mean, that we, as I said to you when we've discussed, we don't rehearse this. I'm really in flow with your energy. Yes, there's a structure and flow of questions, but it's not about that. It's about the truth bombs. I like the truth serum that we throw out. It's vital for us to get real more than it is to portray a superficial exchange in a mentor-mentee partnership, which isn't the reality. It is about us holding one another accountable in that partnership even, because often we think it's one way, but it isn't. It's a two-way street, absolutely. And I love that you highlighted the fact that it is about being willing to accept the feedback constructively, two ways, both ways. But it's, for me, a bit more than balance. It's about the wholly integrated person. And so you talk about balance, but I almost want to challenge that and say it's a little bit impossible in this day and age to find balance more than it is to come back to center and be more integrated with all parts of ourselves, both professionally and personally. And I feel that great mentors does that just for us, is to remind us to be cognizant, is that we can't be too heavily weighted to one part or a few categories in our lives, or to be overshadowed by being a hyperachiever in the career at the cost of what?
I'll challenge you back. I'm going to challenge you back on that one and ask, is that not balance? Is that not equilibrium within oneself?
So how is that balance if you're at work and you are feeling dis-ease because of whatever's going on at home?
Yeah, you see, balance is not drop everything to be with your kids. There's give and take everywhere, right? If I have to go on a business trip, I mean, I've got a client that I'm going to do some work with in Mauritius, and I'm kind of hoping to get some of the businesses that they've got on their books into Innovation City, right? So I'm going to spend a week away from home in Mauritius. I don't need a tan, so I won't be tanning, but I'll be working. There's a private equity firm that's asked me to do some stuff, and I'm looking at talking to the Economic Development Board and some of the other people just to see what's happening on that side and to try and make sense. I'm going to be away from home. You can tell the office I leave work at about 2:30 every day, mostly, unless I have events that I've got to attend, and then I'm there until 8 o'clock at night. But I leave work at about 1:30 or 2:30, 1:30, because my 6-year-old comes out of school at 2:15, and it's my choice to want to pick him up and be there to bring him home. As soon as I'm home, I get done with I get working. I get into my computer. I spend a bit of time with him, 15, 20 minutes, spend a bit of time, get him all comfy. I'll hop into my meeting, but he's in my presence. He sometimes even brings my old computer and says, come, Daddy, let's have a meeting. I feel a bit bad about that because, I'm always in meetings, and he always asks me about meetings. But I have to do those meetings in order to be successful, in order to be true, not truthful. If I I can't just decide, I'm going to do one or two things this week. It's not fair on my team. I've got to be fair on my team. But I can do it in a way that still gives me access to my kid and still allows me to be present when I'm with him. Either one of them. The one's 22. He doesn't want to be present with me all the time. But I mean, so it's about that. It's not about. So for me, what you're saying is balance, and you need to be comfortable within yourself that is how life rolls. You're not going to be here for a whole week. You're not going to be able to make the cricket final because you're working on your child's future.
Sure.
You can't miss every cricket final, though. Our MD is brilliant at Michelle. Michelle spends time away. Her boys swim. And she just tells us, I'm not going to be there. My boys are swimming. I'm not in for the next 3 days. And that's brilliant. We embrace that. Anyway.
So what would you say in closing of this conversation? What would make, or this particular part of the segment, what makes a great mentor, and conversely, what makes a great mentee? I hate that word mentee. I feel it's so belittling.
Learner.
I call it a partnership.
Whoever came up with the word learner.
Oh,
sounds wrong. Anyway.
Okay, we digress.
I know, but I mean, mentee, learner. Anyway. So a mentor is someone that should care about the outcome of the person that they're mentoring. If you're just mentoring to tell everybody that you're a mentor, then, don't become a mentor. If you're a mentor because you really invested in the outcome of that person and you really want to share everything that you've learned and pass that on, hand over that baton, and great, be a mentor, right? So for me, the most important thing there is actually giving a damn.
Mm-hmm.
And then what did you ask about the mentee?
As well as the mentee. So what's the difference in that exchange?
Well, the mentee, you know what a lot of teenagers are like these days? You try and explain something to them and they know better. If you're not going to go there with a bit of an empty cup, willing to be filled, everything's just going to overflow and you're going to retain nothing. So don't bother. If you think you know all the answers, be my guest. Go run your business, go start your $1 billion business. But I can promise you, if you're not taking advice from people, you're going to be a $1 billion in debt business. And I really think it's important for people to realize that they don't know the answers to everything, and they need to surround themselves with the right people. It's true in business as it's true in life. If you surround yourself with the wrong people in life, the stories they tell you become the stories you tell yourself about yourself, and that's how you see yourself. And in business, it's no different. If you think this is the way to do it, if Jacob Zuma is your best friend and they're telling you, listen, take a couple of brown paper packets here, there, and everywhere, and no one will know, and don't tell SARS about this and that, it's going to be fine. Someone's going to come back and bite you on the bum. And at the end of the day, surround yourself with the right people giving you the right advice, and they care. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I would like to just add to that and say, show up and be committed. Both ways, right? From a mentor and that partner that you're partnering with. I don't like to call mentee or coachee, so I call it a partnership. And if it's a shared partnership, show up with commitment, not just interest. Show up, as you say, with an empty cup.
100%. Are you telling me there's a word like coachee?
Absolutely. Coachee, mentee, it's almost for me belittling, right? It's almost like the smaller version. I have like a complete visceral feeling when we talk about mentees or coachees, because it is a partnership where we're walking alongside one another to get to that outcome that you are just speaking about so beautifully there. For me, we're neither above someone and neither below them. We're walking a journey together. It's absolutely a partnership.
And by the way, the one thing we never talk about is depression. I suffer with depression sometimes. Sometimes I just feel like crawling off the earth for a little bit. Not in that way, just like crawling off and just going, disappearing away. I sometimes feel like that. Business is not easy, man. If you're running a real business, your bank manager is always looking for you. Because sometimes we have to take capital risks, right? You have to you have to hustle. Things aren't easy. Sometimes you got to back yourself. I mean, one of the biggest lessons I've learned when I started my media business, Innovate Africa, was when people promise you something in November, it's not going to be done by June. I can promise you that much. While there are one or two people who go, "We'll back you," and they're there, if you work with a corporate, they will string you along and they will tell you, "Oh, it's year end. Oh, my manager has to make the decision. She hasn't gotten back to me yet." And those things can really knock you, right? But you always have to remember why you're doing what you're doing. But you should also be vulnerable. You should allow yourself to be vulnerable. I cry. Sometimes I cry because I'm like, what the hell? And it's important to do that. Because if you keep all the stuff like sort of bottled up and you go, oh no, and you kind of ignore it, eventually it'll catch up to you. I mean, there's a story that really, and I forget his name now, man. I don't know. I mean, billionaire jumped off the top of a building. African founder of a business, jumped off the building, had everything going for him. But the question is, when everybody says you've got everything going for you, a lot of them talk about money and success.
Agreed.
And the way, it's going back to your equilibrium and everything. That's why you need balance or equilibrium or that other stuff you said that sounded really fancy. I'm like, sorry, I've just got a cough.
Have you got some water there? Come, I always say keep water ready and take a sip. I'll leave you to that. Why do you get it?
Don't worry, I'm fine.
You're fine.
But vulnerability is an important thing. And having people to speak to when you're vulnerable is an important thing. Men do cry, right? And I think, and we're spending a lot of time talking about the emotional side of things because it's that important.
Yes.
The way you feel when you wake up today defines your attitude towards the problem you need to, or the challenge in your business that you need to grapple with. If you wake up with if you wake up with a defeatist approach, that's kind of the approach you're going to have towards the challenges in your business.
Kieno, I am probably known as the coach that makes people cry. It's not a nice legacy to go with, but I'm okay with it because in context, it's exactly what you're describing. Is that I create the safe space that gives people the permission to feel like they can be witnessed in their most vulnerable state. Absolutely. Because it's only in that state that you get transformation. If we don't allow ourselves, as you say, to be vulnerable in those moments, guess what? You're not going to have authenticity. You're not going to be able to solve problems, as you rightfully stated there, Kieno, because you're coming with the superficial mask or this persona of how you deem what's needed to be showing up. I see people are coming back to say that's for you, Anissa, definitely crying. Yes, but it's real. It's about keeping it real for me, Kieno, and that is what the partnership is supposed to be about. Yeah. It's not me necessarily. I'm your mentor. I'm your coach. I'm here to be your friend and share all the beautiful things that I think about you and feel about you. It is about truth serum and giving it to you and saying and calling you out on your BS, so to speak. And it's necessary, but people don't feel like it is okay to not be okay. So I am very grateful that you are highlighting this aspect because it is pivotal in the growth and the sustainable transformation in that partnership exchange.
But isn't that what LinkedIn is about? Everybody posts on I love LinkedIn. It's probably my favorite platform. But everybody, I've got a new job. Oh, look what I'm guilty of that. Look what we've done. Our amazing team. No one can do it better than us. Okay, we don't go that far, but you're posting all these cool things you're doing,
Yeah.
and creates this facade. And I forget the name of this psychiatrist.
Gabo Motse?
No, he's English dude. He's all over TikTok. He's talking about people. He says you look at the person who drives the Porsche, and you say, "Oh, they must have the most amazing life. I wish I were them." And then he said, "But how do you know that the person in the Porsche doesn't want to wrap it around the next pole? Because it's an inanimate object which makes you happy for a while, but it's not.
Yes.
It's not the center of your being. It's not. And if you are centered within yourself, those niceties are fleeting. They come and they go. But whether you have them or whether you don't shouldn't make a difference. I really think that, and mental health is a big thing. I've got a teenager who struggles with depression, and mental health is a big thing. We need to. It's a real thing, and founders need to sit with other founders. I know Rob tells me, Rob Paddock, he says, we've got a group of business people who come together regularly, and we just talk about what's happening in our lives. I'm fortunate to have a couple of founders, who will phone me and say, "Can we go for a beer? Can we have a coffee? Can we have a chat? I don't want to talk business. Before I throw someone off a building, I need to talk to you, or I'm going through a really tough time right now. Can we have a chat?" That's important. You need a support network in everything you do, and I think that's mentorship of another kind, if you like.
Yeah. So we have only 9 minutes remaining, and I really want to tap into what advice you have for any aspiring men. I hate this. Let's just call it for the partnership. What advice would you give someone that's looking to become a mentor or to have this sort of partnership?
I think, understand your own journey. In order to share your lessons, you need to understand your road that you've traveled and understand the lessons that you've learnt and how you've overcome certain challenges. So know yourself. I think that is very important, because you are going to share things with other people that are personal to you, that will help them. But it's important. You don't just sort of make things up as you go along. You need to be true to yourself in terms of the value that you can bring to the person that you're mentoring. And take time with that, planning that journey, because it's someone else's future who you're impacting. For me, that's important. People ask me to mentor them, and I'm like, why do you want me to mentor you for? Or reason? Sure. And they say, "Well, listen, I'm just getting into a leadership position right now," and da 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 da. And I said, "Cool, I'm happy to help you. If I feel I can't add value, I say no." Yes. Because I don't know everything, so I've got to know what my value offering is in order to be able to assist someone.
I like that you say it's okay to say no. I love the Connect to Grow platform. I just want to come in and talk a bit about the SIBA platform. Yeah. What it does is it almost exactly what you've just described is you put your profile together, but you need to be very clear and discerning around who it is you want to attract, because the platform is going to match you up with the mentor that is best suited for where you are in your journey. So don't put the superficial stuff onto these platforms and really get vulnerable. Be real and be authentic in what you're writing in your profile, not what you think it's politically correct that needs to be there, right?
I just want to say something quickly on that. When I studied, I did my PG dip in small enterprise consulting when I was at SIBA. And it was an interesting course. I mean, we had all these wonderful international, guys like Vitos Aguman, who's now the managing director at Julius Baer in Switzerland, etc. These are people who lecture us. But the one thing I remember very clearly is this thing called effectual thinking, or it's called effectuation. So if you come from Elsie's, effectuation might mean something else, okay? But effectuation situation is effectual thinking. But and this effectual thinking basically says the following, and I'm broad brushstrokes. I mean, you need to have a vision. You need to know what you want to do. You need to understand what your own capabilities are. So you need to hit the ground running, do things as an entrepreneur, just get things going. Theorizing is not as exciting as having stuffed up something, but trying hard, just. The third thing is understand your acceptable loss. Are you happy to lose both your homes? Are you happy to lose your car? Are you happy to, what are you happy to do in order to go onto this journey with you? So that's the other one. And then the fourth one, which is probably the most important one, is who's in my network. Because I know, and I don't know, I mean, I must double check, but I hope we're not teaching people linear strategy, 5-year strategy, and this is what you need to do. Because to me, it's the biggest stuff up. Strategy in a world where technology grows exponentially has to be iterative. And it's only effectual thinking and being part of a network of people who give you insights and help you create capability to respond to the way things are changing around you. That is important. Mentors play an important role in that. Our cyber platform plays an important role in effectual thinking. And if you don't have your ear on the track, you're not going to hear the train coming. And once you walk over, you don't want to be hit by that train. At the end of the day, you need to just know what's coming, and you do that through, once again, having the right people around you. I just wanted to part in saying that, because for me, it was one of those things. We've actually built Innovation City without a business plan, without a business model, right? Without any of those fancy stuff. We had people in our network who trusted us, loved our vision, and I'm talking about multinationals here who agreed to come on board. None of them asked us for a business plan. But what we could show was capability, the ability to deliver, a space that was great, and a network that they knew could fuel their needs as well. So I'm not saying don't do a business plan. I'm not saying don't teach about business plans, but I'm saying life is a little bit more than that.
No, so I hear you. I concur on that point as well, because ultimately it is about cultivating curiosity. It's about being this fascinated anthropologist within that network, within that circle, and doing so from a place of empathy. Because when we are designing whatever our service and products are for the better serving, for those serving, I got tongue tied there, for the betterment of serving others, those are just enablers. Those tools and frameworks are there to support us as enablers, but they're not the be all and end all. We've got to get really down to the crunches and say, well, what are the things that are important that's going to serve the greater good of all stakeholders in this exchange? I see Alan says strategy needs to follow the squiggly line of the founder. Yes. So in the last, Kieno, this has been a really encouraging, refreshing, real conversation, meaningful. I value that because you and I share that view around it's about our stories. It is absolutely about being willing to share it with no shame, no guilt, and being part of that mentor partnership. But looking back for you, is there anything you wish, anything you had known about mentorship earlier in your career that you want to leave those that are here?
No, that's like asking me. That's like asking me. That's like asking me, do I want the questions before the interview? No. I think the beautiful thing, obviously there's 20/20 vision in hindsight, right? But I think the part of the beauty is the discovery. Things happen, and you don't realize they're happening until they've happened and impacted your life. So, no, I don't wish to. I would live my life all over again. I'd make all the decisions I made, as much as I sometimes want to pull my hair out of my eyebrows. I'm happy with where I am in life. I'm happy with the journey that's been carved out for me. and I'm happy. It's been carved out for me through the decisions that I've made, faced by the choices I had to make at seminal parts of my life. And that was that. So no, I don't want to know.
Okay. So what I get from that piece that you've responded on is that embrace the difficulties, the challenges, the barriers, the obstacles, the lessons, all of the above, because it is what amplified your transformation to where you are today, along with the support of those mentors. We have come to the end, but there was one final question that I had
Yes.
for you, if we have time. Are you okay to let us continue?
Always.
Now, again, similarly to the other question about looking back, it's the same question asked differently. What's that one piece of advice for your younger self regarding mentorship? What would it be? For those that are listening in, possibly, not so much for yourself.
Well, listen, I was also a cocky little so-and-so, you know. Once you start doing stuff and you start, you know, realizing, ooh, this is really cool, I can do this, I'm great at this, you sometimes sort of get ahead of yourself sometimes. But I think remaining humble in your journey is a very important one. So for me, that is, you know, the one thing that sticks with me. And also, if you in a leadership position in a company, you are a mentor.
Absolutely.
Right? If you're one of those bosses who love sitting behind your spreadsheet, you walk in, you just nod and say yes, okay, good, hello everybody, and you bugger off and you just sit there. I don't want to work for you. If you take the time, so we didn't have offices at Innovation City. You know, Stefan might sit in the boardroom, I might sit, I don't know, wherever. But I make and I'm no angel, hey. I'm teaching myself how to become a more effective leader. I spend a lot of time just talking to people and asking them how they are, what's happening in the family, etc., etc. Because if you actually know your staff, know what they're going through, you don't always need money to motivate them. Right? I also think our HR processes are so stuffed in this country. You know, we talk about how we all need to be within ourselves and blah, blah. How do we hire? We hire based on a CV.
True.
We hire based on what? There's no empathetic data whatsoever that we gather from our interview processes. But it helps me to know that you're a single mom, or you're looking after your parents at home, or whatever, right?
Sure.
You've got this dream. Because if I know you've got a dream of being X, Y, and Z, and I can help you do that through my networks, help you achieve that, help your child achieve that, then I end up creating a workplace that people find very difficult leaving, because I respond to needs that they actually have and things they actually care about. I don't even know if that answered. I don't even answer the question, but I wanted to say
a little bit and then some. So thank you. And I think just to close off with Chabang's comment, he says, enjoy our chats. Thank you for that, which is a testament to what you've just said there. Talent retention starts with effective leadership, Elsa says. So I just want to thank everyone that has been engaging and participating as beautifully as you have been. Those that are on Instagram, we appreciate having you here. Those that are on YouTube, thank you. Kieno, this has been amazing. For those that do want to start this journey, this inspiring journey, do connect with either myself or Tanya or the CIBA Ignition Academy team, where we will share with you the Connect to Grow platform, and you can definitely make the impact that you are observing and witnessing in real life here with Kieno, having walked that journey. But as he says, let's keep it real and stay authentic and be meaningful and stay in truth. And Corinne says, wonderful conversation. Thank you both.
Thanks,
Thank you
Corinne.
so much, Felicia. So
Thank
any closing comments before we say goodbye and end this
I want to
live?
say thank you. You know, you sit here, you're the face and whatever, but you're a single mom. You work hard. You're doing your stuff. You have a lot of things to juggle. We always see you as this fountain of strength, and
Oh,
it's true. But I think you know, you have a personal life. You have your stuff that you do, and you're able to come out and share us with your kids and with every. That is so cool as well. So thank you for doing what you're doing, and also
oh,
thanks to
thank
Corinne and the team. You guys do phenomenal work. I see Gia was up there as well. Gia's the CEO of Tiba, the business school, and it's so
yeah.
cool sitting on board with Gia. She's just, you know, she's the deal maker, the closer. And but the one thing I like about Gia is she's chilled. She's very chilled. She's very measured, and I love that about her as well. So, you know,
Absolutely.
it takes all of you to make what's happened here today. So thanks to everybody out there as well, and to all of you for actually just listening in and contributing. Much appreciated.
Yes, thank you. On that note, the comments are still streaming in, but we have to close off. For those that are listening to the replay, you know where to find Kieno, but know your journey before you ask him to be your mentor. So on that note, I'm going to close off and say thank you to everyone. Kieno,
Thanks,
just
Anisha.
stay for a moment. Don't
Sure.
leave the live. Stay
No
on the
problem.
live. I just want to debrief with you. Thank you.
Cool.